sorry. Thank you for that. And elevate. Nadia's voice is not just heard, it ignites flames of transformation and inspires action. As an advocate and catalyst for change, she empowers audiences to confront injustices head on, fostering a collective commitment to building a brighter, more equitable future for all. As an ambassador and advisor to numerous nonprofit organizations, Nadia is instrumental in advancing missions that support Indigenous communities in Canada, particularly in addressing water challenges and safeguarding their water sources. Her passion for advocacy extends beyond traditional channels. Nadia is a mixed Indigenous award-winning actor and public speaker, renowned for her ability to captivate audiences and inspire action. She leverages her creative talents and media platform to amplify voices and raise critical funds for causes close to her heart. Nadia's impact is undeniable, recognized through prestigious accolades such as the 2021 Ontario Premier Award, the 2020 Distinguished Alumni Award, and the 2023 Community Activism Award. These honors reflect her unwavering dedication to effecting tangible change and fostering sustainable solutions for marginalized populations in Canada and El Salvador. With Nadia George, organizations gain a passionate advocate, a dynamic speaker, and a driving force for social and environmental justice. Thank you, Nadia. Take it away.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always weird to hear those intros of yourself, but it's also a good reminder sometimes of how far one can come. And so if there is anyone that else is in this room that has a bio, I suggest you get someone to read it to you, just as a reference point of where you've come from and all the good that you've done so far. So I'm going to share my screen now in regards to the PowerPoint, and we shall get started. Well, we will go back. There we are. Can everybody hear me? Okay, everyone's good? Good, good. I'm going to try to not make this as boring as possible. You're going to hear a lot of statistics today, so that can create a little bit of a change in how this is presented, but I'm doing my best to make sure that it's not too dry. So I'm a representative of the Child Welfare PAC, which is the Child Welfare Political Action Committee. Our focus is ensuring every youth has a brighter future. And you will continuously hear me say this. It's kind of a caption catchphrase that we have. So I apologize for the redundancy. So a little bit about myself outside of what was just spoken to you is kind of my story as to what brought me to the Child Welfare PAC. I've been a part of it since its conception in 2017. And it was actually founded by one of my best childhood friends. I will give her a bit of an introduction in a little bit. But I do want to share my story because I think it is important for helping professionals and practitioners to kind of understand where foster kids come from and also some of the struggles that we face, but that there is hope. We know this, right? So my first experience in the child welfare system was in 1985 in Wellington County at the age of 5. I won't get into the traumatic details of what brought CAS into my life, but I can say that I remember those moments clearer than moments that might have happened a few months ago. I remember the supervised visits. I can remember the room. I remember the orange chairs. I remember the brown, ugly weaved carpet that the 1980s used to have that was pushed up against the shelves with the toys and the books. And I also remember the immense feeling of fear and confusion and anger at a weird stranger asking me questions that I didn't understand. I remember sitting and talking with the child lawyer. I remember her office. It was big and almost mirrored the Oxford Library. I always remember her being very sweet and feeding me a lot of Scotch mints to try to, I think, soften the blow. And I remember the day I went to the courthouse. I remember seeing my parents. I remember asking, when we could all go home together. So I remember it all as a little girl at the age of 5. At the age of 7, I experienced my first apprehension. It was a snowy night in early December. I was playing at a friend's house. We'll call her Beth. And I remember her mother calling me in to the house. And I remember seeing a man, very nice, seemed like a nice man. I remember his khaki pants. I can remember his haircut. Started asking me a lot of questions about my home life. And then I was told to go back outside and play. And I already at that point knew what was happening. And when Beth went in to go to the bathroom, I ran and I hid behind a snowbank for what felt like hours. And I could hear them calling my name, trying to find me. And it wasn't until I heard the gentleman say, I think we might need to call the police to help us find her, that I finally came out from behind the snowbank. And I said, here I am. My experiences through life had led me to know about police. And in my young mind, I did not want to go to jail. So out I came. That night, I went to a transition home, which was really scary. It had a lot of kids in it. But I will say that I was one of the luckier ones. And I don't say that lightly, because I did go to a lovely foster home. And for the few weeks that I was there, it felt safe because my foster parents were quite kind. My foster siblings really made it feel like home, and it was super peaceful. So those are the feelings that I get when I think of that place. And then I remember going back to my mom just before Christmas and feeling really kind of torn and confused, because I did want to be at home. I wanted to be with my mom, but the other house was so safe and quiet and peaceful. And so I was a little bit uneasy, because I knew in my heart that I probably wouldn't have that peace again until I was able to build my own peaceful world. So, I've had many struggles, encountered many of the challenges we'll talk about today, but fortunately, I did create a peaceful world of my own. And I think the biggest lesson for me was how powerful community is, and that we all need it. And I remember when I was 16, I was told by an Ojibwe elder that we may find ourselves feeling a sense of loneliness, but we rarely do anything alone, whether directly or indirectly. The universe brings us someone who helps us, even in the smallest way. So today, I look forward to sharing with you how the Child Welfare PAC is creating pathways for youth in care and foster alumni to have brighter futures. So the Child Welfare PAC is a registered Canadian not-for-profit that advocates for a progressive child welfare system. We focus on advocating for evidence-based policies to break the cycle youth face what's going on here? I do just have to, I can't see the full slide. And my mouse is being, sorry, give me one sec here. There we go. Okay, I think it should be better. And their post-care lives. So our mission is to build a progressive child welfare system by providing real-life expertise and high-quality research and effective advocacy so that all youth can realize their success. Our vision is a child welfare system that ensures every youth, once again, has a bright future. So the Child Welfare PAC is a non-partisan organization. It was founded in 2017 by Jane Kovarakova, and if you haven't heard her name, you probably will want to look it up. Jane Kovarakova is a child's right advocate. She also grew up in foster care, and Jane has overcome language barrier, poverty, systemic discrimination, but through hard work and purpose, she is now completing her PhD at Western University. In 2017, she founded the Child Welfare PAC and has also served as a board chair of Simcoe Muskoka Children's Aid Society and on the Premier Council for Equality of Opportunity. And more recently, Jane has taken a step back from the PAC to follow a path in politics where evidence-based policy changes can be made. So Jane was an MPP candidate in 2022 in the Ontario election, and as a political staffer at the Ontario Legislative Assembly, she was instrumental in developing legislation that is reducing youth homelessness today, and is now the Chief of Staff of the Ministry of Community and Social Services. So we're going to get into some of the issues that we found as the PAC was really starting to kind of gain traction and really starting to understand the issues that some of the youth in care and foster alumni face, along with addressing our own lived experiences in regards to how can we build better policies and where are those gaps. So the first one we are going to look at is low academic achievement. But I really want to preface and kind of just state that these are findings that were done by a research paper that Jane Kovarakova did. The report is available on our website, and it's just really mind-blowing. So hopefully I don't bore you too much. But before we get into that, every year in Ontario, around 800 to 1,000 young souls venture out into care and into the world. Among them are 16 and 17-year-olds make up about 16.5% that will be embarking on that daunting journey of independent living. They are way ahead of their peers in that state across Canada, who typically wait until their 20s to leave home. But here's the kicker. Not all of them get the support they need to navigate this transition. So if we flash back to 2012, when only 64% of Crown wards and customary care youth were destined to receive the extended care maintenance allowance at 18, that's the lifeline that helps them transition into independence. Not everyone qualifies. So now if we fast forward into 2024, we're pinning our hopes on initiatives like Ready, Set, Go to provide a safety net. Yet it's no surprise that many Ontario youth feel a sense of abandonment as they bid farewell to the care system, staring down the barrel of uncertainty. What we know is that study after study paints a grim picture for these young souls as they age out of care. Across the board, their outcomes are far from rosy compared to their peers. We're talking low academic achievement, high unemployment rates, unstable housing or homelessness, brushes with the law, early parenthood, deteriorating health, and the crushing weight of loneliness. So if we know that this is what is happening for youth who are transitioning out of care, it begs the question, and I say this just as something that we can think about as we are moving forward. If the child welfare system is producing these type of outcomes that we will get into in regards to the stats. So if it was a parent, would it have its children taken away? And that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as we are moving forward. But luckily, there are champions like yourselves who are committed to rewriting this narrative, and that's why you are here and you are learning and you are listening and doing the great work that you already do. So today I'm extending that invitation as we delve into the transformation of the work of the Child Welfare PAC. And together, let's dissect how we can sculpt brighter futures for every child who has walked the path of care. And let's rewrite their stories, one chapter at a time. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, again, I want to preface the vast sea of literature that this report and study has been done on. So we will be embarking on a journey spanning various countries and decades. You might ask why the wide scope? Well, it turns out that specific research in Ontario was sparse. And it should be noted how problematic that is when those in power are creating or updating policies that involve youth transitioning out of care, and findings from other places seemed to echo a familiar tune. Time wasn't a constraint for the exploration and building of the report. From the 1970s to present day, the story remained eerily consistent. Despite numerous attempts to revamp child protection systems worldwide, the impact on youth outcomes seems to be disappointingly unchanged. So the findings came about while sifting through these studies of all shapes and sizes from long-term populations and analyzes to quick snapshots from focus groups that were had. Yet amidst the diverse methodologies, a troubling pattern seemed to emerge. So it seems that systemic issues might be pulling the strings behind the scenes, shaping the negative outcomes experienced by many transitioning youth. But hold your interpretations. While some studies pointed fingers at correlations between certain factors and outcomes, causation wasn't always clear. So it's, again, the classic case of correlation not always equaling causation. So this is just a reminder that we can all tread cautiously in our conclusions as we move forward. And if we start talking, and as we talk about definitions too, youth in care, as we know, come in all shapes and sizes. Yet studies often paint them with broad strokes. While some hinted at the influence of gender, race, or cultural background, the nuances remained largely unexplored, leaving gaps in our understanding. So in a nutshell, the deep dive into literature unearthed a troubling reality for youth leaving child protection systems. So as I said, we're going to take a look at some of these issues. So low academic levels. So let's dive into the stories behind the numbers you're going to hear, where academic struggles become more than just statistics. So studies from Canada, the United States, and Britain echo the same tale. Youth in care face an uphill battle in education and often lagging behind their peers. Only 44% of youth in care in Ontario will walk the stage for high school graduation, a stark contrast to 81% among their counterparts across the border. A quarter of former youth in the US still lack a high school diploma in their early 20s, while non-foster pairs have crossed that milestone. Another study that seems that the odds are stacked against them from the start happened in 2010 that was published in the Canadian Journal of Education, and it tracked Manitoba youth, revealing a staggering truth. The more risks they faced, the higher the dropout rate came. Poverty, foster care, and young maternal age form a trifecta of obstacles that weigh heavily on academic success. Another really interesting fact is that with each move, a child loses up to 4 to 6 months of academic progress. So imagine having to move numerous times and feeling like you're constantly trying to catch up. So even though some manage to stay put and there is stability, it doesn't always guarantee success. A British study found that a type of placement and its stability play a pivotal role in a youth's educational journey. Leaving care with minimum qualifications is a reality far too many experience, especially those in residential care. So with post-graduation, because one of our programs will highlight on that, whether it's with special needs education, absentees, or lower test scores, the hurdles continue to seem endless. Non-care in youth are 20 times more likely to pursue post-secondary studies, painting a very stark contrast to the bleak reality for those in care. So it's not lack of ambition. Survey after survey actually reveals that there is a desire for higher education for former foster youth. But the numbers tell a story of resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Behind each statistic lies a journey of hope, obstacles, and unwavering ambition to defy the odds. So it's a narrative that definitely deserves our attention and action. Unemployment and underemployment. So as we take a walk through the realities of employment for youth aging out of the child protection system, it's a journey that is definitely marked with uncertainty. A study done by Hook and Courtney shed light on the shadows surrounding employment outcomes for these youth. The verdict was dishearteningly consistent. Unemployment and underemployment become all too common, painting a bleak picture for those transitioning into adulthood. In Winnipeg, teen crown wards face staggering unemployment rates, hovering around 70 to 80%, dwarfing the general youth employment rate in the province. Meanwhile, across Canada, studies unveil similar struggles, with as much as 46% of permanent wards aged 23 to 31 finding themselves without work. So again, we have to take into consideration that there are a high number of youth with disabilities. And in Ontario, the reliance on psychotropic drugs and being able to navigate work while needing those extra supports can also be quite difficult. So maybe that's the conversation of also creating awareness and education for employers to understand, and how can we better support in those situations. So in essence, the road to employment for former foster youth in care is fraught with obstacles where systemic issues intersect with personal struggles, demanding a holistic approach to pave the way for brighter futures. The criminal justice system involvement. And I'm going to try and really wrap this up because I know we are going to be short on time probably. So in the realm of Ontario's child welfare, an eye-opening 11% of Crown wards faced charges, shedding light on the challenging journey many young people endure across Canada. A staggering 78% of accused youth are males, with a significant chunk falling between the ages of 16 and 17. So that's also painting a very vivid picture of the landscape, because as we talk about youth aging out of care, those are actually the times where they are transitioning and really need that extra support. As a mom of a 24-year-old, I couldn't imagine my son trying to navigate life at that age on his own. But then again, I might be a little bit of a helicopter parent too. But as we delve deeper into some of the American studies as well, McMahon and Fields uncovered compelling evidence that criminal behavior wanes as foster youth mature. They found that those tangled in criminal conduct often battle alcohol, drug dependency, hailed as male, and suffered from educational disengagement and fractured caregiver bonds. So we really are looking at nurturing, and we know this through all of the issues that we will be covering, is that nurturing sense and the sense of being loved. Even as teenagers, I'm sure we all went through the idea of don't tell me what to do, but we still need to know that someone is going to be there when we do the things we're not supposed to do. Conversely, non-offending youth typically remained steadfast in their schooling during the transition into adulthood, highlighting the divergent paths within the system. Moreover, the type of stability and placements emerged as political factors shaping post-aging out criminal activity, echoing the sentiment of Ontario youth who highlighted the discourse within group homes. So McMahon and Field really emphasized of the significance of current substance abuse diagnosis, school status, and caregiver bonds in predicting post-care criminality, underlining the importance of proactive supportive measures. So the disparity underscores the need for a more equitable legal landscape that prioritizes rehabilitation over punishment, offering hope for a brighter future beyond the confines of the system. Homelessness and housing insecurity. So homelessness casts a long shadow over the lives of young and youth aging out of care, painting a stark reality that demands attention. Within the first 6 months of leaving care, these youth stand at the edge of vulnerability, with Ontario bearing witness to a concerning trend. About 43% of homeless youth have a history with the child welfare or child protection sector, which is really, really crazy. Yet not every foster youth walks the path of homelessness, though the statistics paint a sobering picture. Rates vary from 11 to 29% among this group, underscoring the challenges many face post-care. Even for those who avoid homelessness, the journey is far from smooth. The average of number of placements prior to exiting care speaks volumes, with instability often becoming a lingering companion well into adulthood. For some, couch surfing becomes temporary refuge. That is something I experienced in my own life, with close family ties offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Indeed, perceptions of social support wield a powerful shield against homelessness, offering a lifeline to those who are teetering on the edge. Homelessness is a harsh and unforgiving companion, threatening to engulf their lives as they step into adulthood. In Ontario and beyond, the statistics create an all too real picture that too many of these youth find themselves on the streets, grappling with instability and uncertainty. But amidst the darkest, it's caring professionals like you that can bring back that hope. And it's time to like turn the tide and to ensure youth are not left to navigate that storm alone. I truthfully believe that together we can build that community that is needed, where every youth has a place to call home and has the opportunity to thrive. Early pregnancy and parenthood. As I said, I have a 24-year-old son. I was a mom at the age of 18. Navigating that was very difficult. Luckily, he's done quite well for himself. So I guess I can give myself a little pat on the back for that. But as we look across Canada, in British Columbia, a striking discovery emerged. Young women emerging from foster care were 4 times more likely to face pregnancy by the tender age of 19. Similarly, Dorsky and Courtney's investigation in America's Heartland unearthed a troubling trend of foster youth aging out of the system were disproportionately burdened by teenage pregnancies and subsequent repeats compared to their counterparts. So astonishingly, a third of American cohorts had experienced pregnancies by the ages of 17 and 18, doubling the rate among their peers. And by 19, the disparity widened even further. So remaining in care for extended periods appeared to offer some protection, which is really great because we know that we have some lovely initiatives that are happening that are allowing support workers and social workers and all of those practitioners in the helping community to kind of stay in contact with youth longer as they do transition out. Studies have hinted at the pivotal role of parental closeness in delaying sexual debut and promoting contraceptive use. Moreover, group care environments seem to exert a mitigating influence, possibly due to the heightened supervision. Conversely, education attainment emerged as a powerful deterrent against teen pregnancy as well. The staggering economic toll of teen pregnancy further underscores the urgency of addressing this multifaceted issue. While costs soaring into the billions in the United States alone, the repercussions are far-reaching, spanning foster care expenses, healthcare costs, and the intergenerational cycle of neglect and abuse. So it's imperative that we confront this issue head on, investing in comprehensive support systems and prevention strategies to break the cycle and offer hope to vulnerable youth. And our second last one, before we move on to the next slide, is health and mental wellness. So young people aging out of the foster care system often face significant health challenges and barriers to healthcare, setting them apart from their peers. In Ontario, a staggering 82% of youth in care grapple with special needs, with 46% relying on psychotropic medications for support. So this picture is equally concerning for permanent wards, among whom a third wrestle with mental health disorders, often compounded by additional disabilities. It's a reality that hits close to home for many of these youth. I've personally heard stories of their yearning just for a peaceful home, a safe place, and just the desperate hope that their parents will get the help that they need, not necessarily that they want to leave their homes. And I think to myself, as a certified trauma integration clinician and understanding the various types of post-traumatic stress disorder, we also need to start really critically analyzing the supports that we're giving and where medication is needed or not needed. I think additionally, adding to that complexity, Indigenous youth are disproportionately represented in the Ontario care system. Or sorry, yes, are disproportionately represented, making a significant 22% of Crown Ward population or higher, despite compromising only 2% of the general population. So the alarming rates of suicide in some Indigenous communities underscore the urgent need for tailored support. Yet the specific impacts on youth in care remain largely unexplored, exposing a critical gap in understanding and policy. The toll on their mental well-being is undeniable, with rates of post-traumatic stress disorder among aging out youth doubling that of American war veterans. That was a pretty interesting and shocking statistic for me. And I think recognizing the pressing need for accessible healthcare, initiatives like the aftercare benefits by the Ontario Association for the Child Welfare Aid Society offer a lifeline for former youth up to the age of 25, which is really great. But from prescription medications to dental care and counseling, all of these services play a pivotal role in bridging the gap in care. But we need to make sure that we are referring the correct resources and really understanding and coming from a complex trauma lens and a developmental post-traumatic stress disorder lens as well. So in essence, these youth yearn for not just protection, but for love and understanding. Their journey to heal and stability demands not just policy reform, but genuine compassion and support from our communities. And lastly, loneliness. This one is kind of wrapped into mental health outcomes. But engaging former youth in care from some of the focus groups and studies that were done for the report uncovers profound themes that shed light on their experiences. Among the myriad challenges of aging out, loneliness and isolation emerge as one of the top outcomes, deeply intertwined with academic and career trajectories. So that sense of community is really, really important. And I think as helping professionals to understand that sometimes we don't want to necessarily cross boundaries, but also sharing our stories and sharing our experiences and letting these youth know that we're human and that we do actually care and they're not just another number, they're not just another statistic, is really an important part that we can all play, and it's something that we can all make change to. So this brings me to just, shine a light on the daunting realities faced by youth aging out of care. We have the power to make a difference, to extend that hand of support and stability. And this is why the Child Welfare PAC advocates for policies and programs that offer these youth a fighting chance at a brighter future. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. My mouse is not working. No, I knew this was going to happen. Okay, let's get out of this. I think it might just be easier if I do it this way. So the solutions, we have heard a lot about the issues. It's a lot to take in, so feel free, ground yourself, take a breath, take that moment that you need. As we move into what are the solutions, because a lot of people that I have heard talk in my own workshops, they talk a lot about this, but it's like, great, okay, so how are we working on this? How are we fixing this? What can we do? So these are some of the things that the Child Welfare PAC is working on. So post-secondary achievement, which is an aim to increase post-secondary enrollment. Career connections, so establishing accessible pathways to apprenticeships. Discussing privacy rights, which is a really important one as we are moving and transitioning youth into independency. having a feeling that not everyone has access to the most intimate details is really important. We're talking about mental health and wellness. So ensuring that all practitioners are working from a trauma, and this one is very important as well, an FASD and an ARND lens. So I'm sure you probably all know this, but just to clarify, FASD is fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, and ARND is alcohol-related neurological disorders where relevant. And of course, as we talk about policy, evidence-based policy making. This is really, really important as we talk about the lack of research that's being done on youth who are transitioning out of care and long-term studies on that. If we are making policies and we are asking for money and funding for these policies, but we don't actually have evidence-based research to show that what we're doing works, why are we doing it, right? Very, very important question. So a lot of critical thinking around that. So one of the things that the Child Welfare PAC right now is working on is an initiatives bill. Our lovely Bob Bailey, MPP, is the one who presented that. So he's championing this bill, and it is a privacy bill for former foster youth by sealing childhood files that are aging out. So to explain a little bit more on that, the Child and Youth Family Services Act in 2017, it falls short in safeguarding the privacy rights of foster children, leaving them exposed to many risks within the child welfare system. Child welfare files containing deeply personal and sensitive information serve as a repository of foster child's most intimate experiences. Despite efforts to strengthen the privacy rights policy under the new Part X of the Act, these files remain vulnerable to breach and misuse. As minors understate guardianship, foster. Oh, is someone's mic on? No, okay. We'll go back to that. So, as minors understate guardianship, foster children have their data collected without their consent at the age of 18. And sometimes even beyond until the age of 21. This information, often layered with unverified third-party accounts, ranges from potentially accurate to blatantly slanderous or racist, leaving their integrity and accuracy in question. And then again, the accessibility of these files to thousands of child welfare care workers throughout the Child Protection Information Network poses significant risks as well. Data within these files have been exploited to disadvantage children from care in various contexts, from divorce court proceedings to employment opportunities within the Child Welfare Aid Society. Moreover, the permanence of these files make them susceptible to ransomware attacks and leaks by malicious employees, amplifying the liability for CAS in itself. So despite ethical concerns and violations, that part of the Act, these breaches have occurred in numerous instances, underscoring the urgent need for comprehensive privacy protection for foster children. So again, what is the solution? Well, the proposed Foster Fairness Privacy Act that came out in 2020 aims to address a significant gap in the existing legislation, the Child, Youth and Family Services Act of 2017. And by aligning with the legal rights outlined in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, this act will seek to grant former foster children the civil liberties enjoyed by all Canadian citizens, including juvenile defenders. So currently, juvenile defenders have more privacy than kids in care. That's really an interesting point that I think that needs to be made. So drawing inspiration from the Federal Youth Criminal Justice Act in 2002, the Foster Fairness Privacy Act introduces crucial amendments to the Child, Youth and Family Services Act. These legislative changes mark a significant step towards enhancing the privacy rights and protection of former foster children, ensuring their autonomy and safeguarding their sensitive and personal information. So our fostering privacy bill continues to generate significant interest among members of the Ontario Parliament. And we actually anticipate providing updates on this progress shortly. It has gone into second reading, as you see, and as I said, there's still quite some interest in it. So stay tuned, keep following our website for the latest developments. Apologies, losing my voice. And you can also read the background release on that as well. It is accessible through our site if you want to dive deeper into all of that. So as we go to mental health and wellness, this one is really just making sure, as I had stated, that everybody that is working with youth is coming from a trauma lens and actually understands the differences between developmental post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and the differences that they will have on each individual as they are going through their growth and through their journey of life. And then we also talked about also being trained in understanding how to implement supportive treatment and life plans for children with FASD or ARND. So our programs, aside of that initiative, two of the programs we are going to cover today are, first one is our study tuition free. So the Child Welfare PAC has been working with post-secondary partners across Canada to increase social mobility for current and former youth in care. So how have we been doing that? So we have actually created over 640 tuition-free placements in 50 schools across 8 provinces. So studies have consistently kind of shown that there is a larger financial need for youth in care. So these are some of the provinces you can see here that we have created those tuition-free spots, which is really, really kind of cool. And I think the great thing about it is that you don't have to follow the same eligibility criteria as some of the other tuition waivers and things that are currently out there. So while this initiative does involve collaboration between the post-secondary institutions and the PAC, each entity independently assists prospective students in arranging the tuition support. As I said, financial obstacles are often hinder individuals raised in care from pursuing post-secondary education, especially due to age restrictions and existing funding from CAS or other initiatives. So unlike those programs, our post-secondary pathways program offers support without such limitations. So I personally know somebody who was in their 50s who spent at least a year in care that went back and they went to university and graduated with this program, which was really just lovely to hear about. So current Crown wards and former foster youth can visit our website to explore the programs. This is all on our website. It is interactive, and they can access the contact details for each participating school. Up next is our Pathways to Apprenticeship program. This one is really brand new. I'm so excited about it because we know not all youth learn through the academic path. I know myself, I struggled in high school. I had a really hard time. I'm not really a reader. I learn by doing. And I think this is such a great initiative for youth who are 18 years and plus and have spent a minimum of a year in care to look at different career pathways. So the Pathways to Apprenticeship is really to kind of just generate awareness that this is a possibility, helping them navigate the skilled trades, which we'll get a little bit more into, providing tailored advice because we know not every individual is going to have the same needs. So really kind of applying that holistic approach to that. And again, here we are. So among current and former youth in care surrounding the skilled trades in Toronto, providing navigation support for youth exploring and applying for building and construction's apprenticeship opportunities, provide tailored advice concerning the training, finances, and pre-apprenticeships. So studies have consistently highlighted the challenges faced by youth and former foster children resulting in poor life outcomes compared to their peers. Our program is designed to address this disparity by providing tailored support to individuals with lived experience in care helping them forge pathways into apprenticeships within the trades where they can thrive. By actively engaging with youth in care, former foster children, and drawing insights from trade experts, our program crafts personalized success journeys for individuals aged 18 and over in Ontario. We recognize, again, that each participant's journey is unique and our support is customized to meet their individual needs. So last year, we actually conducted, in the last year, because one just happened in February, we've conducted 3 workshops across Ontario to promote participation in the program and facilitate skills development. So personally, witnessing this and witnessing the positive impact of our program to help over 60 youth has been incredibly rewarding. And I think for myself, knowing that this is an opportunity for them to be able to try something different, try something new, and just even see if they like it. You know, we give free hard hats and we can supply the boots, and even coming to and from the workshop, providing Ubers, or transportation is really kind of interesting and cool, because I think people are really excited about this program, and I know I am. So in closing, I want to say thank you for sticking around. I'm sure it was a lot of information. And I just invite you all to join us at the Child Welfare Pact to support our initiatives by either sharing within your circles or engaging youth and young adults in our programs. Together, we can really make a profound difference by empowering individuals from care and other kind of backgrounds, so they don't necessarily have to be foster youth, to unlock their full potential and create brighter futures.
Thank you, Nadia. That was fantastic. We are at 2:07 right now. If you want to stop sharing so we can see your beautiful face on the very large screen. I didn't see any questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions, comments before we conclude this workshop? I'm not seeing any. So again,
that's okay. Yeah, listen, it's a lot of information to take in. Oh, sorry.
We spoke too soon. Janine, go ahead.
Hi, fabulous presentation, Nadia. I really appreciate having the opportunity to hear from you today. I'm a big fan of Jane and the work that she's doing, nice. In particular with Bill 237. I work in the sector supporting youth that are aging out of care through the Ready, Set, Go program. And so I can appreciate the importance of that sealed file for them and their privacy being respected. Has there been any decision with respect to if that will also be with respect to their Ready, Set, Go file as well, or their previous CCSY file? They're working with us voluntarily from the ages of 18 to 22. And so will that file also be part of Bill 237 in terms of their privacy?
That's a great question. And unfortunately, one I can't answer because there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that hasn't been made public yet. Various things and collaborations are being looked at. I think that's probably the most I can say at this point. But overall, I think the privacy bill will really kind of look at any kind of information that could be damaging to one's character will be possibly implemented under that privacy bill, if that helps answer your question.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you.
Thank you.
That's okay.
We have some comments in the chat, wondering if we can put your contact information in the chat again. A lot of wonderful information, a long time coming. As I've been in the field for more than 30 years, congrats.
Oh, thank you. And listen, I think it's just really important that I just want to state from a personal perspective, having actually worked at Children's Aid myself and having been almost 2 decades in various types of social services with mental health and addiction, child protection, it can seem like a lot, and it can seem like there isn't, like, our hands are tied and we can only do so much, and it's really difficult, but we are making some good headway. And I think just your day-to-day individual conversations and experiences with these youth, that's really where it makes the biggest difference, I think, because I can tell you, as a youth who had those experiences, as a teenager, as a young mom who had at least 1 or 2 people that showed that they cared, it made a massive difference for me. And although I didn't always make the best choices in life, definitely learned a lot. It gave me the ability to know that I can still come around. And I think from an Indigenous perspective as well, from my understanding, is that, you know, that good path is always waiting for you. You know, you might stray, but in that circle, you can come back and you can find it. And if we are explaining it in a way to kids that makes sense like that to them, they don't lose hope. And if we're not punishing them for making these choices, because we also have to remember that they may not come from spaces where they were shown what love was. And so that's really important. And understanding organic brain development, all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure you guys have to take tons of workshops on. So thank you for that comment, and thank you for continuing to do the work. Like, giving yourself that pat on the back. This is not an easy job. This is really such a heart-wrenching job sometimes, and we don't always disassociate or desensitize or walk away at the end of the day. And anyone who's like, oh no, it's fine, I can close my door, I question that, because I just don't think it's true. And so, yes, absolutely, I can pass on our contact information. You can also follow us at the Child Welfare Pack on all socials and keep up to date with what is going on. We would love to have you contact us to ask us about programs, or if there's any more information that you would like to receive, we're happy to hand that out as well.
Thank you, Nadia. I want to say personally, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for the groundbreaking work that you continue to do and are a part of. And as we leave the meeting today, just sharing that we continue to listen, acknowledge, implement, and collaboratively, we will help change the narrative for the youth.
No, thank you.
Thank
Coming
you
to these
all.
workshops, this is a great step. So
thank
have
you,
a lovely
everyone.
day,
And
everyone.
I see that Linda has put your next Zoom link in the chat. I believe we were entering into a 15-minute bio